Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast, Fridays Live with Ty. My guest today is my good friend, amazing volume photographer and client, Stella Crase. Stella how long you been in the business now, Stella?
20 years.
20 years. Have you been doing volume all 20 years or did you transition?
All 20 years. I bought my business from another woman who lived in my neighborhood who started Mini Pro Sports Photos. That was really a seasonal part-time business. So when I took it over, I really only worked weekends then. And it was probably a total of maybe 8 to 10 weekends a year, which was perfect for me because my kids were younger and I was still, playing soccer. So I could still be the mom, and it was a perfect business. So that's why I bought it. Now I wasn't a photographer. I'm a business person.
Yeah.
So I majored in business, and I quit my job and started working for her part-time when she knew I quit my job, and I started helping her out. And then she asked me if I wanted to buy her business. And after seeing how much empty envelopes, because it was all envelopes, of course, back then, after seeing unloading an envelope of, $22,000 in one Saturday, I thought, sure, what the heck? I'm a business person. I can figure this out, right?
Yep.
So, so I jumped right into volume. So her biggest league was probably 500 kids. For basketball, which was a repetitive league, meaning we did the basketball, baseball, and so it was pretty big. And then she had a few others, but so I jumped right into volume from the beginning. And honestly, I thought that I wanted to be a portrait photographer and improve my skills, and so I trained myself by going to a lot of conferences. Back in the day, there was Light Pro Expo, which I went to 3 years in a row. I went to imaging. I just kind of was a sponge trying to learn hands-on how to do photography, how to work a camera, how to light, all that. So I'm pretty much self-taught. So, and I started with film, by the way. It was all film, so I didn't know.
Okay, nice.
So
You bring up a really interesting point, and I thought about this a lot with volume sports because before I got into photography, I was a business person. I knew business, understood it. Now I went into portrait and then moved to volume. But there's this argument that I ask, or question I ask people: do you believe volume photography requires more of a photographer or a business person? Volume, T&I. What do you feel the best answer to that is?
I'd say business, as long as, because the photography for volume, yes, you can be creative to a certain degree, but when you have so many kids going through, you have to have a good system in place and you need to be consistent. So if you set your lights up the same, your cameras up the same, and you're doing consistent photography, then now you need to build the business part. You need to sell that. So as long as it's good, and it doesn't have to be beautiful, creative. Most parents with volume photography just want a great expression of their kid. That's really it. They want flat lighting. They don't care about creative lighting. I mean, all the fire and the smoke and all that, that's really for seniors. I do rec leagues. So my parents and my customer is the mom who just wants a really great expression and a properly exposed image. So if you can just set up a basic system of, just consistent light, and then you need to sell it. And then that point. So I think you really need once you have that down, and like I said, you just kind of repeat the same thing over and over again. Now you need to be able to sell. So I think the business part is most important for you to be successful.
I agree with you. I think one thing, and even when because I studied portrait photography first, into that, opened 2 senior portrait studios before I moved to volume. And I even initially struggled with realizing this isn't about creativity. This is about business. This is about workflow. This is about efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about creating a relationship that is long lasting so I can repeat this process year after year after year.
Right. And that ties into the scaling of the business. So now, once you have that system in place, you can grow your business because you're just going to repeat what you have And it's easier to train people if you keep mixing it up and doing something different with every league. It's hard to get photographers that know what they're doing to begin with, on board. So if you can just keep it simple and train them so you have consistency, then you can start selling and feel comfortable with sending out a team of new photographers so that you can grow your business and sell a consistent product that you'll be known for and be branded for and people recognize. So that's your skill level and what you offer your customer. So
Yep, I totally agree with you. So where are you based at?
I'm based in Annapolis, Maryland, and I've never had a portrait studio. I am a on-location photography company. As a matter of fact, I dropped my trailer off this morning to get some brand new tires. So I load up all my tents and equipment in a trailer, and I drive a Sequoia, and I haul my traveling photo studio around with me.
And so what kind of area do you cover in Memphis? How large is an area?
Well, I typically will not go more than an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, maybe from Annapolis, Maryland. So mainly because my photographers and staff live in this area and they really don't want to travel that far. So if we have a 6:30 a.m., we need to be at a location to set up. Really, asking somebody to get on the road earlier than 5 a.m. is kind of pushing it. So I pretty much just stay within an hour, 15 minutes from my, home base area. So.
Okay. And how many, during your busy season, how many are you staffing? How many photographers, sales associates, et cetera?
Yeah, I have about 13 seasonal part-time photographer posers. I have to be honest with you. It's like, very hard to find photographers, very hard to find anybody. So right now I've been cross-training my posers and photographers. So with my, this is about standardization. My posers, I've been able to actually train them to be photographers when I'm short a photographer because I'm using the Canon R6, using the, facial recognition, the eye detection system. And with shooting, especially composite photography, it's a little more challenging when we're doing traditional outdoor. I kind of need people that know what they're doing so they can change settings in the camera. As the sun changes and the lighting changes, they need to know when to change the off-camera flash that we use outdoors. So they need to know, when they change the ISO, that they need to change their flash intensity and that kind of thing. So that's a little more challenging. But with the composite style photography, I have found that I can just, and I hate to call them, they're really button pushers at that point because you're not moving the camera, you're not zooming in, you're not zooming out. You just need to have somebody that enjoys children, that can get a great expression and literally just hit that autofocus button that's on the eye detection and just click it when the child's smiling. So I've been able to really train my posers. So I'm kind of cross-trained with posers and photographers right now, only because it's really hard to find photographers to work for me. Like I can't have, here's the poser and then here's a photographer. So I need to pay my posers like I am a photographer, at the higher rate because I need them regardless. Sometimes I need them to be, I have stronger people. I'll put them behind the camera. If I have stronger posers, I'll put them behind, with the children. So it's just been a little, that's probably even the most challenging in volume right now. It's not so much the photography. It's been really the challenge on labor, which I think a lot of people ever since COVID have had those issues as well. So that's kind of just where I've gone. And the Canon R6 has really helped out with me feeling comfortable with getting consistent lighting and consistent images. So.
Yeah, I've spoke with many of our clients that are doing fairly large volume, I would say, and they've had a very difficult time getting photographers, and they're paying premium, and it's
$25 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of 40 cents a mile round trip.
Yeah, wow. So I mean, it's.
I want them to show up.
And how are you getting your staff? Where are you finding them? Are you doing Indeed? Are you doing other?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I have an interview with someone this afternoon. I have another one next week. So here's two women who came up to me at a photo shoot that actually do like family and baby photos. So so I'll have parents come up to me during a photo shoot saying, "Hey, are you hiring? I actually do baby photos and stuff, but I'd like to, I like working with kids and all that kind of stuff." So I'm like, yes. So, so that's been good. I also was really lucky with Upwork. I was able to find a couple of photographers at Upwork, which was interesting with Upwork. They'll put down a certain salary, like you'll go on there and they like want $50 an hour, $75 an hour as a photographer. Well, if you message them and you say, "Listen, I need somebody, but this is all I'm paying. Are you interested?" Believe it or not, they respond because I think they're just fishing for that number.
Yeah.
They're willing to take less. So that's so I have found a couple people through Upwork. And then of course, referrals from my existing staff that say, "Hey, I got a friend of mine that would like to, and then I'll just train them, like a poser and then transition them into a photographer." So that's kind of worked out really well for me.
So when you have your spring season, which kind of is the end of February, end of May, and then you have your fall that starts August till, end of October, first of November, when is your training sessions? When does that occur?
So basically, yes, I am slower in March. Where I live, spring season really doesn't start until after Easter, regardless of when Easter is. It doesn't start until the weekend after Easter. So I do get a few, like maybe a lacrosse league. I have some cheer. I have some small leagues, wrestling, that may happen in February and March. So that's when I bring on my new staff and have them shadow and just work with a poser or work with my photographer and have them sit behind the camera and just kind of see how things work and have them shoot a little bit so that they're kind of getting a little bit of hands-on training, but they're not, scheduled staff. And I'll give them like a training salary just for, being there. And they're usually not there the entire time. They're just there for a few hours. So I'll have them. So, we'll meet and I'll go over the particulars, but, nothing beats hands-on training. You can talk to somebody forever, but I mean, I used to teach. And that's one of the biggest things, you assume a lot of things about people, but you can't assume that they know everything, just because they say they're a photographer, they probably are shooting in auto mode. They probably don't know what ISO does, what aperture does, what shutter speed does. So you really can't assume any of those things, even if you're hiring someone who says they're a photographer. So the hands-on training, that will really tell you exactly what they know. So, and then where you can go from there. But yeah, I just kind of do that in my slow season, which is before that spring season kicks in.
Okay. So basically through your spring and fall season, you're
Yeah.
carrying 13 part-time people, and then you have Jonathan who's full-time, correct?
Yes.
And yourself. So tell me what that entails. What size, how many schools are you shooting? How many sports leagues? What, can you elaborate on that?
Well, all together in a year, I have 95 sports leagues. And actually, I might have a few more than that because I actually picked up 3 new leagues
Okay.
this spring. So probably at 98 because I don't think I have not lost anything. So
There's 100 leagues. And just for clarification, I want to say leagues, not teams. There are multiple teams within
yeah,
leagues.
there are leagues. I mean, my smallest league is probably like a elementary school league, which is probably, 5 to 10 teams, that they might have at the middle school age. So, we're talking maybe 100, 150 kids is my smallest. And then my largest league is baseball, 1,200 kids.
Yeah.
So Jonathan works with me and we will be in 2 locations sometimes. So, we'll do one, like I might be at a dance school one weekend and he'll be doing a baseball shoot like in the spring. So, so I have been at, we're usually not at more than 2 locations at a time though. So, but that's kind of how busy I am. And it's
So 100 sports leagues, but you also mentioned you're doing dance and schools.
yes, I have 8 dance schools and I have 9 schools. So, and they vary in size as well. So my dance school's smallest, like 100 girls to 400 girls. My biggest dance school, 400 girls, which I just did last week over 3 nights. And then with schools, those also, I mean, I used to have an 800 kid school, but I'm kind of glad they went away. I'm kind of getting away from schools. Schools are so needy. I really prefer my sports, my dance schools, cheerleaders. I just prefer the rec league and sports type of accounts. I keep my schools because it's nice to have something to do during the week, in the fall, in the mornings. But I'm not going after any new schools right now.
Are you responsible for like their yearbook sports photos and stuff too as well?
Yes. I have a couple of schools that I do the sports photos for, but only two of those. The schools that I do are mainly school portraits. So, and then yes, yearbooks associated with those as well.
So you mentioned, with your sports that you're on location, you got your Sequoia, you got your trailer, you're hauling all your equipment around. I'm assuming you shoot primarily outside. Is that correct?
Yes, but on occasion, if I can get an indoor, especially if we're doing composite style photography, of course, I would prefer to be indoors with my Last Light if need be. And so I have been talking a lot of leagues into finding an indoor solution, especially because I don't want to cancel and I'm not going to go out in the rain, especially with my Last Lights and all my lights and stuff. So or regardless, even with traditional style, I don't really want to be in the rain and you have raindrops all over everybody and their hair is wet and it's just doesn't make for a great portrait no matter what. So if I can find an indoor location, because I don't do makeup days at all. And, with my composite photography, if people are like, oh, we're going to miss it, I will offer another league's location for them to come, but I don't set up a separate makeup day. It just delays the job, delays the process. It's a pain. So it just doesn't work out real well. So
I want to get back to that point. I want to get back to makeup day point because that's a great point. But my next question is, on location, outdoors, tents, highlight. I get this question a lot. How do you keep your highlight up? How do you keep things from getting tumbled over? What's your kind of setup look like for an outdoor setup with the Last Light highlight?
Well, first of all, I set up my tent. I put up black sidewalls on 3 sides and I put a black sidewall above. So I clamp it to the roof of the tent because what we're trying to do is control the lighting. Yeah. Control the light as best as we can with BM.
You're blocking all ambient.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Even though when I meter everything, I use a light meter.
Yeah.
I meter everything indoors and when we're using the Last Light. When we're doing traditional, I don't. I use the in-camera meter and then, make adjustments with, what my in-camera meter settings are telling me for the outdoor ambient conditions when we are outdoors. But so with the Last Light, I do put down and we have tent stakes. We nail in a one of those plastic tarps onto the ground of the tent, below the tent. And then I do put, if it's windy, we will put 2 sandbags inside the Last Light on the bottom. And then I'll take a bungee cord and on, there's like the rods where the Last Light at the top, we'll take a bungee cord and stick it through each of those rods and we'll just clamp it on to each side of the tent so that if the wind starts going, it's not going to blow over. And that pretty much has worked out fine with putting the sandbags in the bottom and doing 2 bungees to those rods at the top and just stretching them and, just the hooks onto the sides of the tent. And that's pretty much it. And then of course I do use I'm all Paul C. Buff lighting and I do use their beauty dish for a main light. So I'll put a sandbag on top of that so that doesn't take off like a sail, but that's pretty much my setup.
And do you use the highlight vinyl floor too, or not?
Oh yes, I do. And we'll tape that down onto the plastic. Yes, so that people don't trip on it and that kind of thing. So yeah, it can become a mess. As a matter of fact, I'm peeling off my my foot stamps and cleaning it and buying new foot decals to put on there for the fall. So. Mm-hmm.
So back to makeup day. This is I see this a lot in the groups and people that are really hesitant on how to handle this, especially people that are getting new leagues. They want to make sure that they provide everything they can. And obviously, more often than not, they get taken advantage of because when you're doing composite, it seems to me that a makeup day gets kind of recognized as a second day that I can show up instead of being truly a makeup day, where people will just say, oh, well, they're going to have a makeup day. I don't feel like going today. I'll just go then. You have initiated a rule of no makeup days. Have you been that way from the get-go, or was there some experiences that made you go that way?
Now, I've never done makeup days for sports, ever. And it's just like if it was a traditional photo day, they'll miss the team photo. It's the same concept, So what I tell the leagues is like, do you want me to hold your 500 players' images for a week and a half to see if people even show up for makeup day? Mainly, I will say that I did it once, and I told them that I needed a minimum of 20 people in order to do a makeup day. And I was doing a sign up genius. And if 20 people didn't sign up, I wasn't going to do the makeup day. And I put it in the sign up genius. We need a minimum of 20 to move forward. If we don't do it, I will let you know if we need to cancel makeup day. The caveat to that I would do forward, if I was ever going to do that, and if people still feel like they're compelled, they don't want to lose the league, I would make those makeup people put a deposit down.
Yeah.
I would collect money in advance. If you're gonna hold up everybody's images, I want commitment somehow. And they don't show up. They no show. They sign up. They no show. I'm not doing that. I'm too busy, and I don't want to hold up everybody's images. Most people that want photos show up on picture day because they want their pictures.
Right.
And I know that things come up, kids get sick and that kind of thing. But what I do is I am flexible, and I offer them a couple other picture days because I'm that busy that I can do this, that I'll just tell them, hey, and I'll tell them, like, if I know I'm starting a league at 5:30 at a certain location, I'll tell them I have 5:15 on Monday or 7:45 on Monday. So you can either come right before or right at the end of my other league shoots. So at least I'm being flexible. I'm offering them an option. And then I know it's kind of a pain. I did it this morning. I'll upload to Rabuku, to Team Builder, going, hey, can you please add this one player to this one team in the proof and add their individuals? But I really don't like doing that because it seems like there's always, whenever you add things in later, sometimes it gets kind of messed up, but it's that kind of thing. But yeah, I just don't. I mean, the only reason there's a makeup day in schools is because they do yearbooks. And of course, everybody needs to be in the yearbook. But for sports, like I said, if you're shooting traditionally, they're going to miss the team photo anyway. It's like, that's the way it is. And, and even then, if they just want an individual photo because they love their trading cards or whatever, I'll just invite them to come to somebody else's traditional photo day and, photograph them that they want. So, but that's it. So I did my last baseball team last night. So anybody who wanted, was going to miss last night. That's why I also believe in communication about 2 weeks out, so that when they say, oh, we're going to miss it, I'm like, well, if you're going to miss it, I've got a photo day tonight or tomorrow night at this location. If you want to come by, I can go ahead and take your photo, and then that way you won't miss it. So if you communicate far enough ahead of time, you'll give these parents an opportunity to have that picture at another location. And then I just save it. And of course, composite wise, I like to do all the teams on the same camera. So the lighting might be a little different, but you know what? It's worth it to the parent, and I'm accommodating, and the league's happy I'm accommodating a parent. So it's fine. So we'll just leave it at that.
So being a business person, that's part of your standards, where you make sure 2 weeks out, you're contacting everyone, kind of giving them a heads up, letting them know this is what's coming up, be prepared, etc.
Yeah. I mean, you're selling. So not only are you communicating, you're selling, you're promoting your picture day, you're promoting. So if you're not communicating at least 2 weeks out, you're missing out on those contact points. The more you touch the people have to go, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. Picture day's going, oh yeah, thanks for the reminder. So if you're just letting people know, I don't know, 5 days out that you're, here's the information, that's not enough time, in my opinion. You need to really be communicating a few weeks out. They need to be excited about it. And, you just send them like a sample photo so they get psyched about what to expect, that kind of thing, and get the buzz going. And that will result in, especially with doing all online sales, paper order forms back in the day, people felt, fear of missing out. They see everybody filling out a form and then they felt compelled. Well, when you start sending this information out, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, I don't want to miss it today, but you keep reminding them. So it's kind of like the same thing. But if you don't communicate enough, you're not going to create that sense of urgency or that, oh, I need to do this feeling, so that that they'll at least react to the your picture day, and also it results into a sale. It's ultimately what you're trying to do. So you're basically selling before picture day.
That is a great point, because as a portrait photographer, you're generally selling based on emotion. You're doing in-person sales 90% of the time, or even online. You're trying to evoke emotion to get the sale. In volume, you don't have that opportunity. So you have to have strong other tools to sell through the volume process. And I think what you're saying is some really great points that kind of get lost. Because, one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, the sales get talked about a lot, but not the selling.
Correct.
And
people talk about their sales being down. My sales are not down. My sales are all up. So I'm not saying that I have, could I do better with some leagues? Of course I could. Everybody could do better with some leagues. And sometimes you're at the mercy of the league getting you the information that you need as well. So, and those are like your bad leagues typically. And those are the leagues that typically have the lower sales. And it's lower sales because they're not promoting your picture day either, because they have a poor leadership at the top. And so that's also, as a salesperson, you have to realize, is this league worth it for all my time and effort? Because we have bad customers. There might be a better customer out there for you. So that's what you need to evaluate also at the end of your season. Like, why were my sales lower? Was it me? No. When did I get the information? How many, like for me, I use Photo Day. So how many people opted in? How many didn't, what resulted in sales? How many people, how many people actually showed up on picture day compared to the entire database? Like, did only 300 out of 500, or did 450 out of 500 show up? So you need to evaluate your leagues, and those leagues are the ones that, the ones that you get most participation. Those are the ones that are, you want to keep and you want to foster, but they're usually your partner too, because, I do fundraising with my leagues. There's no secret to that. They want a cut of your income, and I'm fine with that, because if they're promoting it, then they're I have my 1200 kid baseball league on their Facebook page. Picture day is mandatory. Love it. I love it if picture day is mandatory, and the league is saying that it is mandatory. So you want that league, and it is my highest grossing league. So, and it's because at the top, the people that run the league, it's important to them to have this community feeling, because it is a community thing. Picture day is a community, it's their league being strong, and that way they'll sign up again for next year too. So you're kind of working with them to strengthen their bonds with their customers as well. So it works for, your partners with them in a way. So you need to do whatever you need, if you need to do sponsor plaques, whatever, do whatever they need to do to keep that league strong, so that league doesn't go away.
So if we could break it down into just 3 tips you could give, and I'm putting you on the spot here and I apologize, but 3 tips of selling through a volume, what would your 3 tips to people be to help them in their selling process, not in their sales?
Well, you mean in their selling, like to new leagues?
To a league, or, you have standards between your communication and your relationship, your professionalism, your images. If you were to take and look at all those concepts and say, what are really the 3 strongest tools for me that I utilize over and over, in sense I'm selling while I'm coordinating this project,
Okay, well, I think I'm successful. Well, I'm successful because the platform that I'm using has a lot of marketing materials built into it that helps me communicate constantly with my customers. So with Photo Day, there's marketing flyers. I always do the advance pay. So I come from paper order forms. like everybody else.
Sure.
And I feel like parents need some skin in the game, and I need some money up front too to cover all my costs, to pay for my labor and for my composite costs and that kind of thing. So I don't make it required, but I offer free shipping with all advance pay deposits, and if they spend $40 or more. So everybody loves free shipping. That is like the biggest thing. Initially, I think when Photo Day came out, they're like, oh, do a free social download image for the first 48 hours. No, the whole free shipping thing, people just get crazy over shipping. So for me, that's really worked out. So it's those constant touch points with them. So once I do all private galleries also. I don't have any problems getting emails for all of my leagues. There's only one school that won't give me emails. All my schools give me emails. Well, actually 2 schools. There's another public school that doesn't give it to me either. But there's 2 schools that won't give me emails. But all my leagues all give me emails. I do all private galleries. And with that, I've got emails where I can send that 2-week out notification. Hey, picture day is coming. And then I can filter out to those who haven't made a deposit yet. Don't forget, picture day is coming. And so I basically do about 2 weeks out. I do about, 10 to 7 days out. I touch base with them again about 3 days out, and then the night before. So I send out maybe 4 or 5 different flyers reminding them that picture day is coming. Don't miss out on the free shipping promotion. And so that I get as many opt-ins as possible. So having some sort of communication in place, as well as with the league. So giving the league information to put on their Facebook page or their website if they haven't received their unique players access code. So communication is key, because that's like a selling tool in advance. And it's also getting them hyped up and excited for picture day, knowing that it's coming. And if you include graphics on the flyers showing, giving them a picture of what you're doing to get them excited, that's key. The other thing, obviously, as far as selling, you're selling images. So you need to make sure that your photos look great, because if your photography is not good, then you definitely need to brush up on that, because no matter what you communicate, if the pictures don't look great, your sales aren't going to be great either.
Yeah, especially composites. You see a lot of people shooting natural light and adding these individuals to these very graphic and lit backgrounds, specifically lit in different ways. And they just, I think that's really something important that photographers need to work on, is making sure that they're shooting true to what they're shooting for.
Yeah, that's like the templates matching your lighting scenario, that kind of, if there's a light hitting them in the face from the right, but then your template has light coming from the left, it's like, this doesn't look right. So you need to make sure that you're looking at what you're selling, because it's not going to look right. And people, they don't know why. They may not be able to say why, but they know it doesn't look right. So your photography is very important, because you're not, you're obviously going to sell more. If you have a great expression, yes, you'll probably sell those images, because there's plenty of people out there that are very successful selling very bad photography. And we all know that, especially in the volume photography world. So we've all kind of seen competition and have seen our competition in action. So that's important as well. And I guess the other thing is customer service and follow through. I mean, the customer's always right. You need to, no matter what they say, do not argue, refund them.
Yeah.
When I was first starting out, I can tell you, I took a lot of bad photos. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I was still training myself, and I was on film, so I couldn't see what the images. I didn't see what the images looked like. And I used GPA at the time, so I was always shipped to home. I never saw anything. It all went right to home. Excuse me. But sorry about that. So if there was somebody who complained, I actually would drive to their house and take their photo in their backyard, retake it. So that was starting out. I don't need to do that anymore, because my photography is fine now.
Right, but the customer service concept has followed through.
Yes, and that's all I'm trying to say. So whatever you need to do to make that any customer happy for whatever the complaint may be. If they just want a refund, just give them a refund. If they want to retake, go retake the photo. Whatever it is, you can't afford to have one person who might have the biggest mouth in the league to, bring you down. It's like you need them to say, I really didn't like the photos, but they came out to my house and took photos and I had like 4 more to pick from. And that, fosters goodwill and a good, and if it gets back to the league, they're happy that you were able to accommodate one of their customers as well. So, so the customer service is important too. So
customer service is everything. And I think, for us, I have found just by listening and making it right with the client, they end up becoming our biggest advocate.
Right.
Because we faced up to it. We owned it.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't squabble. We said, what do you need to make it right? And I think that's exactly what you're doing. And those people end up becoming your champions.
Yeah. That's where you get your referrals from. And then you never know, it's like that mom's baseball player that you accommodated has a girl in dance. And next thing you know, she's good friends with a dance studio owner and she recommends you because of that, and so you just never know where those little over and above acts of great customer service are going to take you. So you never know exactly how that person is connected to their community or to that league to see where it goes.
So 20 years of business, growing and growing. When did you decide, okay, I need to start getting this work off of my plate and start outsourcing, whether it's your accounting, your graphics, obviously you're a client of ours. What was the point for you?
Well, interesting enough, when I first started, and I bought the business, the previous owner was running a business, doing everything on her own. She was ordering prints, stuffing the envelopes, mailing the envelopes out. And I found GPA, who's no longer around, and I really missed Photographers Association. So they were a full service. So I loved it because, like I said, I was still, I'm still a mom, but I mean, I had kids at home. So it worked out great for me because all I did was ship my film canisters with all the order forms across the country to Seattle. They would process the whole thing, ship it directly to my customers. So I kind of already was set up in a great workflow. Life was really easy back then. I didn't look at any images.
Yeah, that's what's funny. Film, there was no digital processors behind the computer. Everybody sent their film off.
Yeah, and we didn't even worry about it. And I just let them pick the best image. They fulfilled the order. They shipped it directly to my customer. It was easy back then. I had nothing to do. It was great. I just had to worry about the next photo day and just show up and collect the order forms. And I mean, my longest hours were emptying the envelopes and processing credit cards that were written on the order forms. But then, of course, switching over to digital and having to look at every image. And then, of course, learning digital is not as forgiving as film and your colors off, having to pay for color correction. I mean, there's a lot more. Digital is a lot more complicated, regardless of what some people think. So it has created more work for us than is taken off our plate. But anyway, so I guess really the outsourcing, well, with composite photography, well, I started with NextGen, which was you and Wes, who I met. I think it was imaging 2016. So it's been a long time. So I never did composite style. I wasn't a PixSnub user then. I didn't even know about PixSnub then. So I had actually started with NextGen. Then I picked up PixSnub and basically outsourced with them. So I knew I didn't really understand that style of photography. It was all new for me anyway. And then I'm like, yeah, I can do it myself, like everybody else who's PixSnub now. So everybody's doing it themselves in PixSnub, and that's great. So a year ago, Jonathan came on full time, like, all right, you're going to do all my composite work. That's what I'm going to pay you for. The two of us got so overwhelmed. And I reached out that was my first big job with Rabuku. So that was my 1,200 kid baseball league. I'm like, I'm not doing composite memory mates. I'm just going to do a team, an individual. They can make their own memory mates in Photo Day platform. So you guys like bailed me out of that one because that was like, I was like losing my mind. It was like, we can't do all this. It was way, way too much work. We were both overwhelmed and with shooting, because you're shooting every day. When you're shooting every day, you need to get stuff off your plate.
Absolutely.
So it just really worked out really well with you guys last year, and then last summer we connected, and and then I started using you guys exclusively last fall for Team Builder, and I can tell you right now, the combination of using my Photo Day capture app and workflow with Rabuku,
it works really well.
Oh my goodness, it's like a 500 kid league. I can get to you guys, like I photograph it on a Saturday, and if I'm not working on a Sunday, I can have it all uploaded to you that next Sunday afternoon. It's off my plate.
Yeah.
And then Monday I start shooting again. And then on Tuesday morning I upload it to you. And then, so I can just get it off my plate and off my plate and off my plate and just off to you guys. And it's just been, my workflow right now is so easy that I love it. So, I don't worry about taking on new business, because that's the one thing when we, like we're going to talk about scaling businesses and stuff like that. If you are so overwhelmed and buried in images and buried in paperwork, if you're still doing paper order forms, you need to find a solution to get a life, because
time is the most expensive asset we have.
And nobody values it.
Nobody values it, but you're going to find, if you're starting out in this world, 4, 5, 6, 10 years into this, you're gonna wish you had valued that time, because now you're scrambling to try to set up systems to get that time in place, and you can still do it.
Right.
But what I really like to tell those people coming out is, set it up right the first time and then forget it. You don't have to sit here and tweak and adjust and play year after year. It only gets better because, working with us is like a marriage. It's communication and consistency. And as long as you're communicating with us and we're communicating with you, I think we have a really good relationship. And it's just like last week, we had made some issues with you. You reached out to me. We see where the issues are, and we're fixing those. And we're not only fixing those, we're improving upon that for the fall, because you made some good suggestions. And that's marriage, that's communication.
Right. And the one point I want to make, where a lot of people are afraid to outsource. Okay. They don't want to give up control, and they feel like they're going to lose control. Well, you know what? You're really not losing control. You're still in control of your communication with your customer. You're in control of lighting your subjects the way you want them to, about how your images are going to look. When you're doing the team builder, you're still getting a proof. If you don't like the way that the players are laid out, then you can ask for them to be moved into a certain position. Or if you're even so anal as to, you can just send Rabuku exactly how, this is, my T-ball teams.
We have clients that have diagrams for specific leagues. Like, this is my youth, this is my middle, this is my high school.
Right. And this is here's my storyboard for these 10 teams. I photographed 5 with bats, 5 with gloves, and this is how I want them set up. So if you have that system in place, and you're shooting for that, you just communicate that to Rabuku, and then they set it up. You show them a sample photo and say, here's my storyboard. This is how I want all of these teams to look, based on these number of players. And then you get the proofs back. So you're not really losing control over your final images on how you want them to look. I mean, if you have a tonal preset that you want to put some sort of, edginess that you want, you put that on and send it already done. Like my templates, I buy my templates and send them to you. If I want my templates to look a certain way, you edit your templates the way they look, you edit your subjects the way you want them to look, and then you just send it to you to put it all together and get it all processed. You're not really losing control over that. You're just having somebody else do what you want done. And then that way you can go sell more work and not worry about all the work that's involved in building teams and processing all the graphics. So, people lose sight of the fact that you can outsource and still be in control. And that's the argument that a lot of people have. I just want to do everything myself and picks up. It's like, well, then you don't want to grow. Because if you're doing it all yourself, then you're stuck behind the computer the whole time. And you don't have a life.
You don't. You do not have a life. And to be quite fair and honest, when I was doing 2 studios, a volume, trying to grow next gen, trying to grow Rebuku, I just was at a point where I'd had with I knew I wanted to grow the Rebuku end. I knew that was my passion. I had more of a passion for helping people than photographing them. So our studios were still growing, and I just shut them down because I had no life. It was just, even though I was outsourcing all the work, and I'm an advocate for that, trying to do all this, it just didn't work out. And so that's the thing I agree with. And I just want to kind of elaborate to the audience so people understand Stella's workflow. She is a enterprise user with Rebuku, so she sends all of her work offline FTP. We do sports creator services for her, which is team memory made individual. We'll use her templates, but you have a choice of sending your templates or your own. The beauty about it, and the beauty about this, is we really have a wonderful relationship with PhotoDay too, and their Capture app, which is their facial recognition app that will take their images and convert to a CSV for you, correct?
Yeah, basically it does all the matching so that I can create my CSV. Exactly. So
it's done very quickly for you.
Yep.
And that CSV comes over to us with the images, and we do all of our data matching and automation off of that. And it's really that streamlined and simple.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for that. And we're going to be kind of winding this down, but I wondered if you could provide 3 tips to people that are, either have been doing this and wanting to grow, or they're at a point where they want to start in this. What 3 tips of wisdom would you share with new or intermediate volume photographers?
Well, first of all, don't all of a sudden say, I'm going to send everything off. You want to at least pick one small account, like a test job, that you can send out. And even if you're nervous about it, I know that, Rebuku is very open to, if you've done your own like little pick snub job and you want to do a test and say, okay, I'm just going to send all these images to Rebuku and see what I get back compared to what I do, then you could do it that way. So I don't ever believe in just jumping in the ocean. You need to get your toe wet first, and then make sure that the water's the way you want it before you jump in. So, don't
To that point too.
throw out all your systems. Make sure that this is going to work for you.
I agree with that, and I want to speak to that just for a second. We generally, the enterprise solutions, we're asking for people that are photographing 5,000 heads or more per season. But we will not work with a live job to set you up. We'll do up to $75 in test job for free to get a client set up. So I'm glad you brought that up. That is a great point. Don't dive all the way in. Get it set up, get it working for you. So thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I just, it's just that kind of thing because it's scary. We're all scared of the unknown. We don't know. And we're trying to put trust. Our business that we've worked so hard for and we've built up, you don't want to lose anything because now you're outsourcing. So you need to trust your new partner and you need to feel comfortable about it before you actually go all in. And the other thing is, don't wait too long. Don't overwhelm yourself. It's like once you get to, you're getting busy and you're happy about your success, we all tend to be greedy, saying, I just want to keep I want to do it all myself. Well, you're going to get to a point where you may be so overwhelmed with the amount of work that you have on, that you've taken on, that you're now you can't give good customer service. You're going to have upset customers because you can't respond to emails quickly because you're overwhelmed and your two computers are going nonstop with Pixnub, and you can't give the service that you need. So you need to keep your customers too. And if you overwhelm yourself, it's going to be harder for you to address any concerns that come up and to keep you in touch with your actual customers that are reaching out to you. So make sure you realize when you start saying yes to a lot of new business that you may want to make sure you either hire staff, which I would prefer to hire Rabuku and not staff. I'd rather not have to worry about somebody's personal life that can't work today and just send to Rabuku and get all my work done so that I don't have to worry about it. So that's decisions that everybody needs to make. But just realize when you've said yes to like where your business is, and okay, now you're going to take on 5,000 new players this fall. It's like, do you have systems in place to make sure that you can get the images out in your gallery live in the time that you want? Because if you can't, then you need to really look at outsourcing. So, but don't start the season and realize it once you're already in, because you may lose some of your existing customers because now you took on more than you can handle. So you need that's really a hard thing to gauge, but you just need to look at where your numbers are, where your new numbers are going to be with new business, and then say, I'm going to keep doing this, but I'm just going to send these new customers. And I always think the new customers are the better ones to send to your outsourcing. And then you can gradually transition your old customers. They won't even know that you've transitioned. You're not doing it yourself anymore. But that way, the new customers, they're new. So, go ahead and put your new business, get the new outsourcing plan in place, give your new customers the new outsourcing so that if you still want to, handhold some of your older customers, you can still do that. So, and I don't know, do I have another tip? Well, I guess part of this is just, make sure you value your time. It's what I'm talking. I always tell my photo day story. I was so glad when paper order forms, I finally said, I can't do this anymore. It's like, I am going to lose my husband. I'm going to lose my life. I'm going to lose my mind. It's like, when you're doing that many leagues and you have that much paper piling up in your office that you need to get processed, it's overwhelming. And, don't get to that point. You have to realize that you have to have a life outside of your business. Because your business isn't going to be around forever. You need to retire at some point, and you need to have a family and a husband or a partner or whoever with you still, and not have them leave you because you paid more attention to your business than you did the most important people in your life. So, so I think everybody needs to, kind of think about that as well, because nobody puts money or value on your time. I'll do it all myself. Well, how many hours is that doing it all yourself? Are you paying yourself for that? No, you're not. It's like, so that amount of money, you're like, oh, I made this much money. Well, no, you really didn't. If you really paid yourself, you made a lot less. So you're going to make a lot more money if you're outsourcing with a smart partner and bringing on more business and having more time for yourself. So
yeah, I'll put a value on that time. It averages out to about $200 per hour for every hour you're behind the computer.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing, we get lost in business and we forget the purpose of why we're working. We're working to create a life.
Right.
But unfortunately, our life ends up becoming our work.
Right.
So you have to reverse that. So very good points, and thank you. I want to let everybody know, Stella and I will be speaking at Sync February. Do you know the date off the top of your head? 28th, 29th?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're scheduled for March the 1st. So
so it'll be a 3-hour program, I believe, correct?
Excuse me?
We're doing a 3-hour program.
Yeah. 3-hour program. So
3-hour on the blue stage. I'm going to be covering workflows, part of business, assisting Stella. Stella's going to be doing live demos, sharing a lot of information. As you can see from today, she's incredibly transparent, knows her business, knows this world. So if you haven't signed up for Sync, I highly recommend it. We look forward to seeing you there. Stella, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for everything. I've learned a lot from you over the last many years, 8 now that we'll say.
Yeah,
And I appreciate you being on here today and doing this with me.
my pleasure. No problem.
All right. Well,